My name is Amelia, and my curiosity has always gotten me into trouble. Ever since I was a little girl, I couldn't resist exploring places I shouldn't, eavesdropping on conversations that were none of my business, and poking my nose where it didn't belong. I just had an insatiable thirst for knowledge and adventure. But this time, it went too far. I had just started my junior year at Bravery College in Central Ohio. It was only the second week of classes, but I already felt overwhelmed and anxious about my course load. I needed a break from academics, so I decided to go for a long drive to clear my head. I hopped into my dusty hand-me-down Toyota Camry and headed out of town with no particular destination in mind. The bright September sun shone down as I drove past cornfields and red barns, windows down and radio up. I smiled as the wind blew through my long brown hair. Out here on the open road, I felt free. After about an hour, I came upon a tiny town called Belmont that I had never noticed before. Intrigued, I slowed down as I entered the main street. The downtown area was like something out of the 1950s, with a malt shop, old movie theater with a marquee sign, and family-owned hardware store. At the end of the street sat a quaint little diner called Tilly's. My stomach grumbled. I realized I hadn't eaten anything since that morning. I parked and headed into the diner, which was decorated in classic chrome and red leather. An older woman in a blue uniform greeted me. "Welcome to Tilly's. Grab a seat anywhere, sweetie. Be with you in a minute." I chose a booth by the window and browsed through the menu. Soon the waitress, who I guessed was Tilly herself, came over to take my order. I decided on a cheeseburger with fries and a vanilla milkshake. As Tilly walked back to the kitchen, the entrance bell jingled and two men came in. They looked rough around the edges and immediately gave me the creeps. I averted my eyes, hoping they wouldn't notice me. The men sat at the counter and spoke in hushed tones I tried not to overhear. But their tension was palpable, and I couldn't help but glance their way a few times. Were they making some kind of shady deal? What business could they possibly have in this sleepy town? My writer's imagination started spinning scenarios. After their terse conversation, one man slid a small package to the other before slapping some cash on the counter and leaving. The remaining man hastily shoved the package in his jacket pocket. He turned slightly and we made brief eye contact. I looked away, my pulse quickening. His glare seemed to bore straight through me. Had he noticed me watching them? I breathed a sigh of relief when Tilly brought my food. As I ate, I tried to shrug off the uneasy feeling in my gut, but I couldn't stop thinking about that suspicious transaction. What was in that package? Drugs? Money? Weapons? My curiosity was killing me. I finished eating and paid the check, making sure not to look back at the man at the counter. As I got into my car, I made an impulsive decision that I would soon regret. I drove down the block, parked out of sight of the diner, and walked back, hiding myself in the alley alongside the building. I just had to get another look at this guy and figure out what he was up to. Stakeouts and reconnaissance were part of a crime writer's research, right? At least that's how I justified this insane idea to myself. After about 10 minutes that felt like an eternity, he emerged from the diner and lit a cigarette. Glancing around warily, he headed down the street. I quietly followed from a distance, darting behind buildings and cars along the way. He walked several blocks and eventually came to an abandoned warehouse. After looking around once more, he unlocked a side door and disappeared inside. This was my chance. I had to get a peek at whatever shady business was happening in there. I knew it was crazy dangerous, but my intense curiosity propelled me forward. My imagination was running wild, and I just had to know. I tiptoed up to the door, my heart pounding. Turning the handle slowly, I stepped inside. It was dim, but I could make out stacks of large wooden crates. I crept behind one for a better look. The man stood with his back to me, speaking to someone on his cell phone. "Yeah, it's all here. We're on schedule," he said. The shipment will be in Cincinnati by tomorrow if everything goes smooth. Shipment? Cincinnati? What was he talking about? I leaned closer, my foot brushing against the crate. Suddenly he whipped around, his eyes searching the dark corners. I held my breath, praying he didn't see me. After an endless moment, he seemed satisfied no one was there and resumed his call. Gotta go. Have Luke pull the van around back in 10 minutes. We're loading up now. He hung up and started prying open one of the crates with a crowbar. This was my chance to get away unnoticed. I slowly stood up to tiptoe back outside. But my foot bumped the crate again, louder this time. The man's head snapped toward the sound. Our eyes locked for a split second before I turned and ran. I heard his footsteps pound after me. I sprinted as fast as I could through the maze of boxes and out the door. I had almost made it to the street when I felt a hand grab my shirt collar and yank me back forcefully. He spun me around to face him, his eyes blazing with anger. You lost, girlie? Didn't anyone teach you not to snoop around in other people's business? His grip tightened around my arm as he shook me. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I stammered. Sorry ain't gonna cut it, he snarled. I saw you at the diner. You've seen too much already. Panic rose in my throat. No, I won't say anything, I promise. Please, just let me go. His mouth curled into a sadistic smile. Oh, don't worry, I'll let you go. I'll let you go right to the bottom of the lake with concrete shoes. No one will ever find you. Just a nosy little girl who stuck her neck where it didn't belong. I opened my mouth to plead for my life, but no words came out. I was completely at this psycho's mercy. He dragged me toward a beat-up van parked nearby despite my useless attempts to break free. How could I have been so stupid? I should have just minded my own business like a normal person instead of letting my curiosity get the best of me. Now it was about to get me killed. As the man forced me into the back of the van, I scanned the area desperately for any chance of escape. Nothing but abandoned buildings and empty streets. But then a flash of movement caught my eye, a dark figure darting behind a dumpster. Had someone seen what was happening? The van's engine roared to life. My captor cursed under his breath about taking care of me before going back to finish loading the crates. As we sped off down the street, I peered out the back window. For a split second, I thought I saw the shadowy figure running after the van, but we turned a corner and it disappeared from view. The man grumbled on about having to clean up my mess as he drove out of town, but I wasn't listening. Who was that person back there? Did I just imagine it out of wishful thinking? We drove for about 15 minutes before turning onto a dirt road surrounded by thick forest. I bitterly realized whoever was back there didn't know where we were headed. I was on my own. The van lurched to a stop at the edge of a lake. My fate instantly became clear. He was going to make good on his threat to dump me in the water. This was it. The man yanked me out of the van and dragged me toward the shore. I thrashed against his grip, my self-preservation instincts kicking in, but he was too strong. He pushed me to my knees at the water's edge. The peaceful stillness of the lake sharply contrasted the terror flooding my body. I braced myself to feel his hands force my head under the cold water. My frenzied mind scrambled to think of some way out, but I was trapped. Suddenly, I heard a loud smash, followed by a grunt. I whipped my head around to see the man face down on the rocky ground. Standing over him, clutching a thick tree branch, stood a woman with wavy brown hair. It took me a moment through the adrenaline surge to recognize her. It was Tilly from the diner. She must have followed us all the way out here. Tilly? I gasped in disbelief. Hurry. Let's get out of here before this creek comes to. She yelled, grabbing my hand to pull me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new videos.